way of education. It means we try to inculcate the education system which is good in Western states, but is it adaptable to our Indian culture or the Indian soil? Second, we always try to adopt the lifestyle of Western countries. Again, the question, is it adaptable in India? So the idea, the object of Bharatiya Gnana Parampara here it is, try to understand our roots, try to give importance, try to nourish, try to protect, try to create an awareness about the Indian culture, Indian knowledge system, Indian traditions, customs, practices, or the Indian the systems, maybe Ayurveda, that is a medicine, or a mathematics, education system, Gurukula system, all those things. So for me, according to my understanding, when you say IKS, Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is try to know your own roots. Try to know your family, try to know the custom, tradition of India, try to know the education system, that is a Gurukula system which we had in ancient period or the ancient times. So having said all these things, come to the today's session's topic, IKS Nyaya School of Law. So when we say Nyaya School of Law, pertaining to IKS, I've just modified the title here, Nyaya and Other Logical Schools. So Nyaya, I think I need not to explain. Nyaya, it is nothing but a justice, administration of justice, or the justice system which has prevailed in India. To be very frank, Nyaya system, what we have adopted, it is the British system. When we say British system, what is the reason? Because as all of us we know, for 200 years we were under their control. The laws replica of British, the education system replica of Western, or maybe the lifestyle a replica. So whatever the administration of justice system what we have, it is more or less similar to that. We have to overcome from that and give importance to Indian philosophy, especially the logical schools pertaining to India. So when we say Nyaya and philosophical schools or the logical schools of India means we give importance to the laws which were in existence, laws which were adopted, the laws which were followed. Example, it may be Vedas, Smriti, Shrutis, or Yagnavalkya Smritis, or so many other Smritis which enlightened us or which showed path to provide better, effective justice or adopt effective administration of justice. So when we use the term Nyaya, know your Indianization of administration of justice which were prevailed in ancient period and disposal of cases or giving justice as per Dharma Shastra. But here, how do you adopt Dharma Shastra in the present situation? Because when we say the human tendency or maybe the mindset of the people, the moment we say Bharatiya Gnana Parampara, maybe the IKS, we always think it is not relevant to the present situation, but it is not like that. So, but how it is relevant to the present situation? Is it adoptable? Is it adaptable to a local condition? So that we're going to discuss today. So the first here it is, I just want to know, the slides are changing?
No, madam.
No, madam. No, madam.
No, ma'am.
One minute. Is it changed?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Okay. So here,
Yes,
I will not be discussing the entire thing of Nyaya School of Philosophy, but I just restrict my discussion or the topic, it is Pramana Shastra, a part of Indian philosophical school or a Nyaya school. So start with the concept of philosophy. I think most of you have done your PhD or you are pursuing your PhD, I presume like that, or maybe a research scholars. When you say PhD, Doctorate of Philosophy, MPhil, Master of Philosophy, so what is this philosophy? What do you try to understand? What do you try to do under the concept or under the umbrella of philosophy? So philosophy, for my understanding here, it is nothing but try to gain knowledge, try to acquainted with the knowledge with respect to which you try to do your research. But when you start your research, the Indian knowledge system uses a one particular concept which we call it as epistemology. So acquiring knowledge as a part of your philosophy, but what is the process you acquire knowledge? From Indian perspective, the entire process, we call it as epistemology, which is nothing but it is not difficult to understand the interpretation of the term Pramana Shastra. So what is the Pramana Shastra, especially with respect to Indian philosophy? So now, whether any type of the education system, any type of research or any style of research, finally what we want or the outcome of the research, we finally expect we should get knowledge. We should get well acquainted with knowledge system. So as a part of philosophy, Pramana Shastra, you try to get knowledge, but what sort of knowledge? When we say knowledge, it is nothing but a valid knowledge. I think if you remember the entire process of PhD, selecting a topic, collecting a data analysis, come to the writing a last chapter, findings, suggestions, outcomes, right? Finally, you submit your thesis with the findings and the suggestions. So entire process in the Indian school of philosophy, we call it as Pramana Shastra. So what is a Pramana Shastra? What is the process we come across? What are the concepts we come across? So basic idea, the object of the Pramana Shastra, it is to obtain a knowledge. But what is this knowledge? I think for few people, we think knowledge is nothing but getting information or acquiring some information which is on tip of our fingers because of the social media, the digital technology. But there is a difference between information as well as a knowledge. The moment we click something on internet and get acquainted with information, the question arises, the information is authenticated information or not, right? You always cross check. When you go to a doctor, you get an opinion, you always cross check and go for the second opinion with a doctor, some other doctor, to check whether the first opinion given by the first doctor is valid or not, is correct or not, it is reliable or not. So here, Indian School of Philosophy, Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, IKS clearly says, whatever knowledge you acquire, prove that knowledge or check that knowledge, test that knowledge, and that knowledge should be a valid knowledge. But first of all, what is a knowledge? When we say knowledge, it is nothing but it is a bank of true awareness, as well as you acquire that particular awareness through mode of inquiry. This is a very simple statement, but we will discuss in detail. So knowledge is nothing but a bank of awareness, because practically whatever knowledge, whatever information you gain, the ultimatum here it is, you should have awareness, some enlightenment, some awareness. So that is the ultimate mode for what the purpose for which you want to get information or the knowledge. So according to Indian Bharatiya Parampara, knowledge is nothing but a true awareness which you acquaint yourself, or true awareness what you get. But how do you acquire that particular true awareness? How do you acquire that particular knowledge? That is through a process of inquiry. The entire process of inquiry, it is your research, as per the modern terminology. But according to Bharatiya Parampara, we call it as Pramana Shastra. But how do you acquire that knowledge? How do you identify that knowledge as a valid knowledge? That is important. So to test the knowledge is a valid knowledge, it is invalid knowledge, you adopt the process of Pramana Shastra. Okay. So just before I continue, I just want to know, is it the teaching is going on smoothly, or you want to make it in like a reduced speed, or just a little bit faster or slow?
Madam, your voice sometimes breaks. You can please check your internet connection.
Yeah, maybe because of the stable, the connection is not good. Is it okay now?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
If
ma'am,
any
it is okay sometimes. Yes.
No,
Only
we are
sometimes
able to
it breaks.
understand what I'm delivering, the concepts.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So the knowledge is nothing but it is an awareness. But to check whether knowledge is valid or not, you have to adopt the enquiry. That adopting enquiry, which we nothing but a Pramana Shastra. But when you say testing the validity of the knowledge, Pramana Shastra, we will get, we'll come across with 4 concepts. The slide which clearly indicates the 4 concepts. One, it is Pramata, which is nothing but a person who is conducting research, who's trying to acquaint himself or herself with the knowledge. So Pramata is a person, it may be you or it may be you who's doing a research, who's trying to acquaint knowledge, try to check the validity of the knowledge. That particular human being, that particular person is nothing but a Pramata. Without a person, without a researcher, there is no point in conducting a research. Okay. So second, it is a process, which we call it as Pramana. So now, when we say process, Pramana, it is nothing but it is a process what you adopt to inquire, collecting a data, analysis of data, and authentication of the data as a part of your research in the present situation. But same thing it is applicable with the elaborative interpretation according to IKS. So Pramana, it is nothing but a process which you adopt to not just to check, interpret, but to check whether knowledge what you've collected or the acquainted data what you've collected, it is valid or it is invalid. The entire process we call it as your Pramana. The third concept here is the object, that is Prameya. So for what purpose you want to get knowledge, you want to acquire, you want to gain knowledge, maybe for employability purpose. For what purpose you're doing your research? PhD degree, maybe self-appraisal, or it may be if you are getting good wisdom. So there are different object or different purpose for which you try to gain knowledge. But when you say Prameya, with respect to what you try to get knowledge, it means what is the concept with respect to which you try to do your research. Some of you from economic backgrounds may choose the budget. That is the budget concept with respect to which you try to do your research and collect data. Right? For that purpose, what is the data you collect? Log into the website, collect the budget recordings, log into the website, collect the documents of budget, or listen or have a discussion with your senior to know how the budget will be made or criticized, or ultimate, do your field work. What is the implication of budget, impact of the particular financial budget on the public at large? Go to the field and do your data, do your field study and collect data. So a person who is a Pramata, a process, that is doing a Pramana, you try to condense your research to a particular object with a particular purpose. And now when you complete all the 3, finally you will come across with a Prama. Prama is nothing but a valid knowledge, right? That is how during your research you'll try to check whether the data at the time of interpretation, tabulation, or analysis of a data what you've collected, it may be the primary data, secondary source, or whatever it is, data, it is authenticated or not. Because once you complete your research, whatever data you have collected, it is fertile, it is not of good importance, it is not at all useful for your research outcome. In that circumstances, the entire process of your research goes waste. That should not happen. Okay, so whenever you want to acquire or gain knowledge, always try to focus on a correct data or the valid knowledge. So that, according to IKS, the valid knowledge what you acquire, we call it as prama. Okay, please remember this. Pramata is a research scholar, process, that is pramana, the object, that is prameya, the combination of all the three, finally we will get a pramana, prama, that is the valid knowledge. Okay, so next I'll change my this. So now I'll stick on to pramana, not other concepts. So when you say pramana or the pramana shastra, I just change my slide here. So now when you say pramana, 1 minute. Okay, when you say pramana, what do you mean? Is it visible now, my slide? Okay. So I used the term pramana shastra or the pramana. So what do you mean by pramana? I just want you to see this particular slide, associate yourself with the story of this particular concept. I think maybe different states or the different languages, you might have heard about this story. It is a Panchatantra story. It is a mother who will be having a child at home, and she will be having a mongoose also along with her as a family member. So this particular animal was a babysitter for a child to take care of that particular child. So one day, mother wants her to fetch water. She gave this responsibility to that particular animal, a pet, saying that is, please take care of my baby. I'll just come back after fetching water. So it takes a responsibility. The mother goes outside to fetch water. In the meantime, the snake enters a room where the child is sleeping in its cradle. Okay, the moment the snake enters, this pet animal or the animal fights with each other, and as a result, where the death of the snake takes place. But during the process of the entire fight which took place between a mongoose as well as a snake, which resulted into the death, the blood of the snake will be there on the pet animal or that babysitter animal face. So this lady comes back after fetching water, pot full of water. She enters a room and listening the the prince voice, everything. The animal comes out, and the moment the lady sees animal with a blood on its mouth, she thinks the animal has killed my child. Immediately she takes that particular heavy water pot and puts on hit that particular animal, and the death of the animal takes place. And she's scared that a particular pet animal has killed my child, which resulted into her anxiousness or whatever it is, and she just kills that particular animal, enters a room where the cradle was there, and she could see the happy child, which is very much alive. After that, she realized a decision of causing or killing our own pet animal was a babysitter taking care of a child in a very nice manner. It is a wrong decision. So the question here it is how this particular story is related to our class or our discussion or our chapter or our topic. Because I said Pramana Shastra, whatever the data you collect, whatever the research you do it, the knowledge what you acquire, you have to do a proper check, only then come to the conclusion and take a right decision. So this particular story which says whatever is visible to your eyes, whatever information you collect need not to be a correct all the time. Pratyakshisi nodu or pramanisi nodu. Only then you can take a right decision, you can come to the right conclusion. In your research, when you adopt your philosophy of Indian IKS philosophy, whatever information you collect, whatever the data you collect, it may be visible to your naked eyes. But try to understand, try to apply, check the validity, then you say it is a valid data. Without checking the validity, without knowing the authentication of data, please don't collect data, don't use the data as a part of your research work. Okay, so now I'll just go back to the slide here. Is it visible? The slide is changed now. Anyaya theory of cognition, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So I'll come back to my topic after discussing Panchatantra. So here, why did I use that Panchatantra story? Whatever you see, you have to check, double check, only then you can know the validity or know the authentication of data. Because in the process of acquiring valid knowledge as a part of your research, the concept of cognition comes into picture. So what is a cognition? Cognition is nothing but the thought process which takes place in your mind. So without having a thought process, that particular thought process in Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, we call it as your perception, anumana, upamana, all those concepts. So now, whatever jnana, the knowledge, the jnana what you acquire, there are two types of jnana. One, it is you are valid or it may be invalid. But how would you acquire that particular jnana? So when we say jnana, through two modes, one, it is out of your experience. That is what we call it as anubhava. Anubhava, it is nothing but I think in the present situation, we call it as experiential learning, right? I think all of you will accept with me if I use the word experiential learning in place of anubhava. But anubhava, it is nothing but some event takes place, you do your work, you work or do some experiment, and as a result, you get some knowledge. So that is out of your learning, out of experience, out of your work, out of your anubhava or happening of certain event, you get jnana, you get awareness, or you get knowledge. Or through smritis. I think if you are aware a bit Veda Shastra, where we come across with your the shrutis as well as smritis. Shruti, it is nothing but oratory skill through orals. The knowledge is imparted from guru to shishya during Gurukula system. As smriti, it is nothing but through remembrance. Whatever you learn, you remember and you pass on to a next generation. So whatever knowledge you acquire through anubhava, you will acquire, or through shruti or the smriti, remembrance, you acquire your knowledge. But using these experiential learning, whatever knowledge you earn or gain, your knowledge or the jnana, maybe two types. One, it is pramanyam, that is a true knowledge. Another, it is apramanyam. It is nothing but a false knowledge. So how do you acquire a true knowledge? So again, you apply your pramana shastra. So I'll just relate to the previous slide, that is a story. The moment a mother saw a mongoose with blood on its face, on its mouth, she jumped into the conclusion saying that it has killed my baby. Yes, I should kill. She killed it. But just for a moment, you should have given importance to a thought process, cognition. Pratyakshisi nodu, what is visible to her? What was visible to her eyes? Yes, mongoose with the blood. But pramanisi nodu, pramanisi nodu means she could have taken 2-3 minutes to go and check to the place where the child was sleeping. Should have come to the right knowledge, come to the right conclusion. It is the child is surviving, the child is safe, and the blood is not of child's blood, it is a snake which was there to kill, which was killed by this particular animal. Pratyakshisi nodu, pramanisi nodu, only then the knowledge will be a true knowledge. Whatever the data you collect as a process of research, it need not to be authentic all the time. You have to cross check, then you get a good knowledge that is nothing but your valid knowledge, which is nothing but your prama. Second, when you acquire a false knowledge, which are identified as samasya, it is nothing but doubt. The knowledge can be information, or the knowledge can be called it as your viparyasa. It is nothing but your error, because whatever the research designed to adopt, right? You should have a proper methodology of research. You should have proper research design or the research plan. When the research design or the research methodology goes wrong, you cannot get a good data or a valid data. Automatically, the research conclusion will always be false. I think if you remember, you are framing a hypothesis statement of hypothesis, a presumption, assumption at the time of your making a proposal for the research. So here, if your source is not good, the knowledge is always invalid, which leads to doubt, which leads to error in your conclusion, or sometimes the Vitandavada comes into picture. You may say, according to my research, this is a knowledge, this is a conclusion, will not be acceptable by others, because according to your research conclusion, it is incorrect, because you did not rely on a correct data. So when you get a wrong knowledge, a wrong data, the result is samasya, that is a doubt, needs more clarification, or viparyasa, which we call it as a research result is always error, wrong, or vitandavada, it is tarka, it is nothing but hypothetical reasoning, which is just based on assumption and the presumption without proof or without a proper conclusion. Okay, this is what we call it as how do you acquire a true knowledge or the valid knowledge. So the next, pramanas. So the very essential of your research methodology or a Jnana Bharatiya Parampara, it is pramanas, the cognition, that is a thought process which takes place. Whenever you do your research, collect data, please adopt these 6 methods or 6 concepts. So to get valid knowledge, these 3 concepts or the stages you have to undergo only, that the knowledge, the research result is always a good one. It is pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, shabda, arthapatti, as well as anupalabdhi. Sanskrit words, but you have a synonymous that is in English. What is pratyaksha? Pratyakshisi nodu, pramanisi nodu, that is nothing but your perception. So the moment you see me, right? Yes, some lady who's teaching without if there was no brief introduction about me, about the resource person, after seeing the face of a resource person, what is the lady, maybe some law college, some teacher, all those things comes into picture. So here, when you get particular knowledge, you have your own perception, right? You have your assumption and presumption in your mind. So that perception, pratyaksha, in your which are visible to your naked eyes, but don't rely on the things which are available to your naked eyes, which are visible to your naked eyes. So perception, pratyaksha, subsequently pramanisi nodu, whatever you see, your perception, test that perception, rely on some evidence or rely on some documents. So pratyakshisi nodu, that is from your perception, try to understand, but with a supportive evidence or supportive documents, then you cross-check with your knowledge, then you get a valid knowledge. Second, it is anumana, that is inferences. Because the moment you see something in your naked eyes, automatically you start drawing conclusion. So Gayatri, yes, resource person name is Gayatri, the doctor DR, it is available. The question arises, doctor from which field? Medicine field DR, or law background, or economics background, or other things. Is that clear? So here, whatever knowledge, whatever it is visible to your naked eyes, whatever information you get or knowledge you get, you start drawing inferences. So anumana, it is nothing but inferences, but there must be a logical analysis. Please remember, whatever data you collect as a process of your research, there must be a logical analysis of that data. What is a logic? That is a base that people will trust your research. The people will believe, accept. If there is no logic or there is no analysis, there is no point in giving a conclusion to your research work. So Anumana, you started drawing inferences. The next it is Upamana. What is Upamana? Which is called as analogy. Try to compare. Next it is the Shabda, the verbal testimony. Arthapatti, it is a presumption. After inferences, you always go for the presumption. Then Anupalabdhi, which we call it as the non-apprehension. So please remember, these are the 6 concepts which you have to adopt as a process of research methodology. Only then you get a valid knowledge, otherwise not. Okay, so now I'll change the slide. Each one we will discuss in detail. First it is Pramana Shastras, which are adopted in Indian School of Philosophies. Because I said IKS, Nyaya or a School of Philosophy in India. When we say Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, the school of philosophy, we have so many different schools of philosophies. It may be Charvaka, Nyaya, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, Vedanta, Jaina. There are so many schools of philosophies. But these schools of philosophy has laid down a very strong foundation, which is relevant today. Also, it is very much adaptable, adoptable, and today also the philosophical foundation laid down by these 5 or 6 schools of philosophy, Indian schools of philosophy, has its relevancy or related to the present research methodology. You cannot reject this. So instead of relying on a modern method of research methodology or a westernization of research methodology, you can still depend or rely on the Indian schools of philosophy, maybe Charvaka, Nyaya, Sankhya, or Mimamsa, Vedanta. But what is these schools of Indian schools of philosophy related to your research methodology? So this we will understand again. So here, first, we call it as the pratyaksha or the process, perception. The moment you see a particular object in front of your naked eye, so the eyes, you have your knowledge. Yeah, this is a mobile, this is a camera, or this may be a slide which are moving. But how do you get knowledge by pratyaksha or the perception? So according to School of Law, Indian Philosophy School of Law, when we say perception, you try to use your indriyas. I think in English we call it as the 5 senses, the 5 external senses. Seeing your something, you get knowledge. Listening something, hearing something, you get knowledge. Tasting something, you get knowledge. Or maybe smelling something, you get knowledge. If this particular mobile which is available, right, you try to get knowledge about this particular mobile. In that circumstances, the external senses, the eyes and pratyaksha, then you get knowledge. This is a mobile phone, Samsung mobile phone, a basic model. That is a knowledge what you get. So here, by mode of pratyaksha, use your external sense and get knowledge. But using your external sense, whatever knowledge you acquire should be pramanas. Pramanisi nodu, it is nothing but use your some other evidence. Then you come to the conclusion, knowledge is testified, that becomes a prama, that is valid knowledge. So if you see this particular the slide, we have 2 senses. One, it is external sense, all the panchendriyas, that is the 5 senses. We have internal or inner sense. When we say inner sense, according to IKS, we call it as happiness, which is not visible, but still we feel and we enjoy happiness, right? The second, it is a sadness, which dukkha, which won't see, but still we experience that inside our body if something goes wrong with us. And desire, wishes, all those things, ichha. So now The external indriyas which are visible, we experience, but inner states, inner sense, which nothing but the mind, the thought process which takes place. Whatever knowledge you acquire using your panchendriyas, external senses, and apply the manas, apply your cognitive process and check the knowledge is valid knowledge or not. Is that clear? So that is without using the inner sense, or maybe the combination of external sense as well as inner sense, finally the knowledge can be validated. So that becomes your valid knowledge. Next, anumana. So here, as I've already said, the moment you see some object, something in front of your eyes, you start drawing inferences. So I just want participants to see this image, okay? And according to your perception, right? What is your inferences with respect to the white color which is available in our image? I just want answer from 1 or 2 participants.
Smoke coming out of something.
Okay, the smoke coming out of chimney. Okay, any other response?
Cloud, sky, cloud in the sky.
Okay, a cloud which is a part of the sky. So now pratyaksha is the image which is available to you, right? But inferences, there are 2 inferences drawn by 2 participants. One participant said it is a smoke which is coming out of emission or coming out of the chimney, madam. The second participant said it is a cloud which is a part of sky, right? This is your inferences. Now, whether the white color image, the white which is in connection with the chimney, it is a smoke or it is a cloud, you have to do pramana now. Ivaga eradunna pramanisi nodlebeku. But how do you apply pramana now? So for in this, we call it as your anumana, the 4 logical. As I've already said, your research should be nothing but logical analysis. How do you apply logic here? So when you say Indian school of philosophy, the logical analysis of the information or the knowledge what you gain with the 4 concepts, the first which is hetu, second sadhya, the third is vapti, the fourth is paksha. Okay, so what is a hetu? Hetu is a property which is known to us. In this image, the property, it is a chimney, right? All of the 2 participants responded, there is no doubt, both of them, they said it is a chimney, madam. It is a hetu, a reason. Okay, the second, it is a sadhya, which is nothing but unknown property. Some said it is a smoke, some said it is a sky. And now the conflict of views, right? Now we have to decide whether the white color, which is a smoke, or it is a cloud. For that, you do apply your logic. So, hetu is a chimney, sadhya, it is a white color, which is unknown, but we have to do pramana, then come to the conclusion, the final research result. So now, the third, it is a vapti. What is a vapti? The relationship between the hetu and the sadhya. So now you have to check what is the relationship between chimney and the white patches. If it is a smoke, automatically you will come to the conclusion, yes, obviously the smoke emit from the chimney. There is a relationship between the smoke as well as chimney. It is coming out of the chimney. But the second participants responded, it is a cloud, which is a part of the sky. There is a relationship between the sky and the cloud. There is no relationship between the cloud and the chimney, right? So vapti is nothing but the connection between a hetu and the sadhya, and to understand the connection between the white patches, the white color and the chimney, you have to go to the locus, that is a place where the chimney it is situated at, that is paksha, which we call it as a locus. Now you have to climb on the terrace, the top, and now you in person, go to a locus, go to the paksha, go to the terrace and check the chimney and touch whether the white color, what is visible in the slide or the image, it is a sky or it is a smoke. The whole process, it is your pramana shastra, pramanisi nodu. Is that clear? So when you see something, you draw inferences. So in order to come to that inferences, correct or true, it is a smoke or it is a cloud, you apply this logical elements to the logical process, that is Hetu, Sadhya, Vyapti, Paksha. There are connection. Is that clear? Go to the place, locus, check the chimney, then you will come to the conclusion it is not a cloud, it is an emission from the chimney, that is the smoke. The entire process, the knowledge, inferences, the cloud, it is wrongful inferences, whereas the smoke, it is a rightful inferences. That becomes Pramana Shastra, that becomes your research result, which is outcome of your research. Okay, so that is most important. Without a logical analysis, there is no research. Please understand, whatever may be the field you are from, it may be law, it may be economics, it may be your geography, sociology, whatever it is. When you do your research, come to the research conclusion or the research, the result, logical analysis is very much important. So the Tarka Shastra of IKS, or maybe your the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, these are the 4 things you have to adopt to come to the right conclusion to prove or disprove your inferences. Okay, so the next it is Anumana. Avayava Anumana. It is how do you check that inferences? I just give 5 steps. Again, a logical process, 5 steps. We call it as a proposition. Understand this proposition, reason, or example, application, or conclusion. So before discussing the theory part, I just want you to analyze this particular image. What are the things are visible in image? We apply same Hetu, Sadhya, Paksha inferences. But understand this particular image. What are the things which are visible to you?
Player with the helmet, jersey.
I think you need to unmute, sir.
One cricketer playing with bat.
Okay, cricketer is available. The bat is available then.
The ball is also available.
The ball is available. What is the connection between all the 3?
The cricketer is actually hitting the ball.
Okay.
It
It is a
gone
karma.
up.
It is an action.
I'm going to hit the ball.
Repeat it, sir.
Going to hit the ball.
Okay. So now the moment the bat hit the ball, what is the result?
Goes up.
It goes up. Can I use a term? The moment a bat is moved, hit the ball, a force is created. Because of the force, the movement of the ball took place. The karma or the action of the ball, that is the movement of the ball took place. So without
That ball touch ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಬ್ಯಾಟ್ಗೆ ಬಾಲ್ ಟಚ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅದೊಂದು
okay. In the analysis, in the inferences, you can clearly say, as per the correct observation, the image, the bat is not a touched ball. But in case if you hit the ball using the same bat, right?
Yes.
What is the result? Force is created.
It can be a
The
6
moment
or
of the
4.
ball takes place, automatically the ball may hit the force or the 6 or hit the boundaries. Is that clear? So now we use this particular example to understand the concept of validation of the knowledge. Is that clear? So now I'll apply the same thing and go to a next slide. I'll just change my slide here. Is it visible? Okay. So now I said, whatever inferences you draw looking at the image, the ball is an object and you want to conduct a research on that particular ball. But you said human being, a cricketer, human being is available, the bat is available, as well as a ball is available. From my point of view, the explanation to understand the logical analysis of your research, we take a ball as an object. Okay. So now the ball is an object. How do you apply logical analysis here? So as per Indian philosophical school, we have these concepts which we call it as Dravya, Guna, Karma, the Samanya, as well as Vishesha and inherences and insight. So what is this substance? Ball is a substance. It is nothing but the object, because in the beginning of the lecture I said, when you do your research, the most important it is the researcher must be there and the object with respect to what object, what concept, what idea you want to do your continue your research. So the ball is a substance, or ball is a dravya. A ball is an object, right? Which is a topic of your research. Now second it is, how do you do your research? Okay, when ball is your research idea, how do you do research on the ball? What is the color of the ball? Ball is made up of what material? For which game the ball is used, right? Or who is using the ball? For what purpose? Competition purpose, just as a leisure purpose. So the moment you see this particular ball, your thought process, you start doing your research work. But the logical analysis, we will understand the first you identify the ball is a ball, nothing else. Okay. Second, what is the quality of this particular ball? Apply your mind, thought process. What is the quality of the ball? The color, the size of the ball, the shape of the ball. Ball is a ball, right? That is a basic thing. It may be a cricket ball, or it may be tennis ball, it may be a baseball ball, or it may be of your any different types of ball. But when you use a term ball, there is a main thing, that is the guna of the ball, that is shape, texture, color, all those things. Next, what is the action, karma of that particular ball? I said the moment a cricketer hit the ball using a bat, it is bound to move from one place to other place. That is its karma, that is its action. You have to do a research. If you hit slowly, little movement of the ball takes place with a less force. If you hit hard, it reaches 4 boundary or the 6s. The force is more. So the moment a ball is subjected to force, what is bound to happen? It is movement of the ball, which is its quality, which is its karma, right? Ball, it is meant for hitting. Ball is meant for a game. Ball is subjected to force. The moment the ball is subjected to force, automatically the movement takes place. You can take 1 round, you can take 2 rounds, you can go for a 4 runs, or maybe a 6. So the next, that is, what is a commonality or what is a samanya? Sarve samanya ante heltivalla. It is very general. When you say different types of balls, the commonality of that particular ball, it is a ball which is meant for competition or playing games, something that is a main commonality, whether it is a baseball or a tennis ball or it is the cricket ball. So that is what we call as commonality. It means whenever you choose a particular topic for your research, when you undergo a pramana shastra, try to know the authentication of that particular data, you have to analyze the data from all this perspective. Okay, next it is Vishesha. Vishesha, it is nothing but what is the uniqueness of that particular ball. What is the speciality of that particular ball. So now the speciality varies, right? The material which is used to manufacture baseball, it is different. Material it is used to manufacture cricket ball, it is different. Size of the shape of the ball, it is different. The weight of the ball, it is different. So when we say ball is a commonality, but little go further, what is the peculiarity or a uniqueness or the speciality of that particular cricket ball? So when you take a budget, financial budget, right, you have to check from a general perspective and condense, narrow down your research with respect to your discipline. Yes, as a law teacher, budget is important for me because for taxation, right? As an economic student, your budget is important because economic development. What are the grants which are given for the economic welfare? As a humanities, as a social subject, or maybe women's studies, Your importance is what is a grant allocated, what is the money which is allocated for women development or the child development. So that is your school of philosophy says when you do your research work, you research from every perspective and start narrowing down your research ideas or the research work. So last one, it is inherence. As the word is said, inherence are nothing but the relationship between the object and some other things. What is the relationship between your hetu and the sadhya? That is important. What is the relationship between a chimney, right? The chimney and the white image. Is it sky related? The white, if you identify the white patches in the image as a cloud related to sky, nowhere connection with the chimney. If you identify that particular white patches or the white color as a smoke, it has no connection with the sky, but it is related to your hetu, that is the chimney. Is it clear? So as a part of your research process, your research data, your research result should have a connection. It should be related. If there is no data says yes and your research result says D, there is no relationship. In that circumstances, the research suggestions or the research the findings or a suggestion recommendation will not serve any purpose. Is it clear? So these logical analysis are interconnected. Without having a coordination or the combination, the research result will not be of good useful. That is what the Indian School of Philosophy clearly says. Next, the third, how do you get a knowledge? How do you acquaint yourself with the knowledge, which we call it as shabda. So when you say a shabda, I think because in the beginning I said, by seeing through your eyes, you can collect knowledge. But we are a blind person, but still we can use our hearing capacity, gain knowledge or acquaint ourselves with the knowledge. So in that circumstances, using your indriya, that is a shabda, through oral testimony or the verbal testimony, where you acquaint yourself with that knowledge, and where you sit and listen your teacher, listen your guide, information or the knowledge what you get, which are not available on internet, which are not available in any text, which are not available in any other source. The question arises, to what extent you can rely on information or the knowledge which is shared by some person? Is it reliable or not? So please remember, whatever data you collect from internet, you have to cross-check. Whatever data you collect from the available printout or maybe the written text, you have to cross-check. But how do you cross-check information or the knowledge you get through oral communication from some person? Authentication, it is two things. First important, collect information, collect knowledge from a reliable person. Now there is a difference. Collecting information on your topic from your friend, collecting information on your topic from your guide makes a lot of difference, right? How many of you will accept this? Okay, you're doing a research on your subject and your guide gives some oral information, oral knowledge. Apart from me, from a law background, I'll come and share information with you. Do you rely on your guide's information or do you rely on my information?
Guides information.
What is the reason, madam?
He is the most authentic person.
And why do you call him as an authenticated person, or the knowledge is information is authenticated?
Mm.
He is expert in that particular field. He has in-depth knowledge about that particular subject on which he is guiding you. You can easily rely on that particular person because he is expertised in that. He has in-depth knowledge and he is not going to deceive you. So here, whatever the knowledge you acquired in oral communication from any particular person, authentication of that particular knowledge, you have to check with three concepts. One, it is that particular person must be a reliable person and he is sharing a right knowledge. And the third one, it is he has no intention to deceive you people by giving wrong information. You will not rely on me, okay? because I'm unknown to you people. Whereas you blindly rely on your guide person, a guide, because he's a reliable person, and whatever knowledge he will share, obviously 101% is a reliable, a correct knowledge he will share it with you. And the third was person, a presumption. A guide will not deceive, or the guide will not cheat, will not give wrong information, the knowledge with a research scholar. So the third or the next process, whatever information knowledge you acquire through oral communication or the shabda, it is nothing but you get knowledge from a person who is reliable, authenticated, and shares correct knowledge, and he will not deceive you, which we call it as apta. Right? If he is apta, if he is reliable, yes, there is no doubt you rely on his information, include it in your research. Otherwise, just reject his information. That is what Indian philosophy says. So the next, it is upamana, that is nothing but analogy, it is nothing but comparison. I think most of you have done the comparative study, right? I have taken up a comparative study. So here when you say comparative study, yes, try to understand the Indian system with the modern UK system, understand Indian system, Indian economy with the China economy, try to compare, try to similarity. So here, sometimes where you get knowledge, but in order to understand that particular knowledge, compare that with some other object which are similar to your object. Example, yes, you want to conduct a research, on the KYC, know your customer, right? Know your custom KYC system as a banking sector, as a consumer, as a maybe as a research scholar, you want to do your research and you want to compare whether KYC it is reliable, protection, privacy of your data. So you try to compare your Indian KYC system with the China or maybe Japan or maybe a UK or the US. Then you come to the conclusion, ours is best or ours is worst. So whenever you do your research work, as a part of your research, the philosophy clearly says you try to validate the knowledge, check the authentication, validity of the knowledge, by comparing your information with some other object or some other information. Then you come to the conclusion, whatever you've understood, it is correct. Okay. So the next, that is what we call it as upamana or the analogy. Know the similarity or the comparison. Now I just take a 1 second here. The image which is available for you, how many of you think it is a deer? How many of you think it is a cow? Or how many of you think it is some unknown alien animal? Is it a deer?
Yes, madam.
No.
Yes, madam, dear.
No.
It is how many of you think it is a cow? Belongs to a cattle? Okay, so few. Now in this circumstances, you try to compare. So you have an object, it has similar features with the cow, it has similar features with the deer. Then you come to the conclusion, yes, it has much of resemblance, similarity with the cow. That's the reason this object is a cow. It has similarity as resemblance with the deer. That's the reason the object is deer. It means when you don't have anything to research or a source to rely, you adopt this comparative study and try to compare and come to your research result or the things. Is that clear? So this I'll just skip here, which is not important. So the next, it is as a process of your Pramana Shastra, you identify a particular object. When you identify a particular object, we come across with this particular elements. We call it as your Tarka Sangraha, that is nothing but 7 padarthas. Any object you collect, any subject topic you choose for your the research methodology, this Tarka Sangraha plays an important role, which we have already discussed. Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Vishesha, Samavaya and Abhava. Right? So Dravya, it is nothing but your substance. I just repeat the example of ball and the bat. Substance, a ball is a substance. What is the guna of the ball? It is a color, quality of that particular ball. It is a quality, that is a guna. And what is a karma? Action of the ball is when the force is used against that particular ball, movement of the ball, it is karma. Vishesha, particularity, that is made up of particular material to prepare that particular ball. Inherence, the relationship between the bat and the ball, the relationship between the force and the ball. So that is what we call as samanvaya, or the inherence. And last, it is abhava, it is a non-existence. How many of you heard about the positive hypothesis and the negative hypothesis? What do you mean by that? Positive hypothesis and a negative hypothesis?
Hypothesis
I'm
are-
doing slowly so that you can understand. Yes,
when a
sir.
hypothesis
You need to unmute.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, positive hypothesis is a kind of hypothesis which is having relationship, positive relationship between the variables we have done. It is also known as alternate hypothesis.
Okay, negative
Negative is a null hypothesis. There is no relationship or association.
doesn't exist. So here, when you start your research, you come across with two things, maybe existence and non-existence, right? You choose a topic with respect to which we don't have any data at all. Is it possible? The object doesn't exist. You want to do some research on that, but it is not possible. I'll just give an example of outer space. You want to do a research on outer space, right? But your guide says, don't do your doctoral research, do empirical research. Is it possible for you? And you are not from a science background, you're purely humanities, and your guide says, don't do your doctrinal library study, but you have to go for your field work. The thing doesn't exist for you on the earth, which is not accessible for you. You cannot rely on available study materials or the doctoral research. Now you have to go in that circumstances where you feel doesn't exist for me at all. Just one example, but there is no perfect here. So here, when you do your research, first, in order to apply all the 6 gunas, right? 6 categories, the things must be in existence. The subject must be there. And it becomes easy for you to do your research. But the thing doesn't exist, right? As a law student, I don't believe in existence of alien until unless it is visible to my naked eyes. Automatically, I come to the conclusion, this particular alien doesn't exist for me. When there is nothing exist, when there is no existence of something in that circumstances, abhava, non-existence, similar to a negative hypothesis or the null hypothesis, we can say. When something doesn't exist, there is no question of doing a research, or you may come to the, you may conduct a research. Whatever the presumption hypothesis you made it proved as negative, doesn't exist, null hypothesis. So that is what, but rarely it comes into picture. Otherwise, when you do your research, all the 6 categories or tarka sangraha plays important role. And next, I said we have so many schools, right? Nyaya school, Mimamsa school, or Buddha, Jaina, Charavaka schools. But how Mimamsa schools plays Mimamsa philosophy of school plays an important role as a part of your research. So here, example, when we say Mimamsa, it always gives importance for interpretation of your data. Because when you collect data, right, start analyzing, then you start understanding, start interpreting it. Interpretation, analysis, tabulation of data is maybe the last one stage of your research. So Mimamsa gives importance to interpretation of the data, what you have collected. So according to Mimamsa school of philosophy, there are 5 interpretation, the 5 categories of sentences. One, it is injunction vidhi. Second, it is nishedha, that is prohibition. The third, it is thuti, that is sign. The fourth is namadheya, that is a name. And the last one, it is arthavada, which we call it as explanatory sentence. So what is this vidhi? I think if you remember a vidhi, well versed with Kannada language or maybe local or a Sanskrit, vidhi, it is nothing but an order or the systematic way. Vidhi bhad kaam karo. vidibhaddhavagi kelasana madu, right? So here Mimamsa says a vidhi, it is nothing but an order is giving, asking you to do something, which we call it as injunction. But from law background, it has some other definition. But from your philosophy point of view, research methodology, vidhi, it is nothing but an order it is giving to you, asking you to do something. Yes, cross the zebra line when you get an indication of movement of the human symbol in a traffic signal. Second, nishedha, that is prohibition, order not to do something. When the green light it is available, it is shown in a green in a traffic signal. What is a nishedha on a pedestrian? Stop, don't move, don't cross the road. Is that clear? So Mimamsa, when you start interpreting the sentence, something sentence may give positive, some sentence may give negative, asking you to do something, asking you not to do something. It may be in that different style. And the third, it is a stuti. I think how many of you have a habit of reading, having a custom of chanting shlokas or maybe ashtottaras, shatanamavali, ashtottaras or sahasra ashtottara? How many of you read that like early morning as a part of your puja?
Not every day, ma'am.
Maybe Fridays, Tuesdays for ladies?
Sometimes.
Yeah, okay. So here when you read ashtottaras, different names of the particular god you will read out, you will chant
Yes.
out, right? So what is it? We call it as stuti. Devanama stutisodu athva Devanama helodu. It is nothing but when you start using different names, you try to praise, you try to glorify. Your Mimamsa says the sentence what you use as a part of your research, you try to glorify the Indian history as a part of your research. You try to praise the particular person as a part of your research, right? So that is what a hymn or the stuti says. The next it is a name, a namadheya. So namadheya, it is nothing but as a part of your research where the sentences what you particularly define, right, with a minimum qualification. So here I'll just give one example. When you are doing a research on Virat Kohli, is it possible for you to hide his name, not disclosing his name and give your research? Okay, I'll just give one more writing a biography on a particular cricketer. Do you disclose his name or you don't disclose his name in biography?
Need to disclose.
Yeah, take his permission, collect data about his cricket life and the personal life. You write something and do your research, collect data, print the biography of that particular cricketer. The name you have to disclose. So here, disclosing name or a namadheya, it is not just mentioning the name of Virat Kohli, is where the sentences, the first chapter of your research methodology, where you try to define. Is that clear? So as a Mimamsa school of law clearly says, try to define your subject, try to define the concept, try to define the idea of your research. Because without knowing the meaning or the definition of your object, the subject, the idea, there is no point in reading the third, fourth, fifth chapter. Because as a researcher, as a guide, we know what is there. But when you hand over your research thesis, your research result to a third person, a local, a stranger person, he will not understand your research result without knowing the meaning or the definition of your subject. So the Mimamsa school of law clearly says it is when you classify your sentences, classify your research a thesis, have a different parts, give definition, introduce, explain, then becomes easy for us to understand the research result. So the next it is explanatory sentence. Arthaveda, it is nothing but your third, fourth chapters. In detail, you will explain your research idea so that analysis of data, analysis of your hypothesis statement, what do you call it as experimentation of your research statement, statement of problem. So complete critical analysis or just analysis, comparative study, the third, fourth chapter. So finally, you get a better result or the conclusion, suggestion or the findings. So without having a chapterization, Mimamsa school of law, which clearly says have a step-by-step process of research. That is chapterization, the scheme of chapterization. Only then the research result is good, otherwise not. So now we will understand the previous slide concept with this example. When you take your child on a ride on your two-wheeler or maybe your example of four-wheeler, what are the safety measures you adopt? Taking a child on a four-wheeler, what are the safety measures, precautionary measure you adopt?
Wearing the seat belts,
First,
securing them.
child on the board, backside. So the follower should drive carefully. Second, seat belt. Is that clear? So this particular site clearly says the two sentences, it is nothing but hug your kids at home, but when you bring them on a ride or a car or a public road, you should be strict and tie the belt, wear the seat belt. Hug your kid at home and wear the seat belt when you are there in a car with your child. So now you cannot interchange. It means when a child is at home, showcase your affinity, your love, affection, pamper. But when the same child is on the public road, moving vehicle, your pampering is not important over there. You should be having a safety measures, tie the seat belt. There is a difference. It means Mimamsa school clearly says, try to interpret the sentence looking at the condition, try to interpret the sentence looking at the situation. Because I'll just give an example of award, AWARD award. How do you interpret? I'll give a two interpretation. As a law student, as a law teacher, award, arbitration award, it is a decision for me, right? Meritorious award, certificate is given, a cash is given to a student. But for a film or a film fraternity, it is a film achievement acknowledgement. It is an award. Or for a national awards, Padma Shri or maybe National Film Fair Festival Award. So the term award is same spelling, same letter, same word, but the interpretation, meanings are different. So Mimamsa schools, whatever the sentence you use, whatever the words you use as a part of your research work, see the situation, see the context, see the content, you give different interpretation. Okay? Yeah, this is what from my side. So I just quickly will have a refresh. When you say your Indian philosophy as a part of your Tantra Yukti, as a part of your research, it is nothing but you need to have a Praman human being, that is a particular person to start your research, or with a Pramana, Pramanisi Nodu, Prama, that is a valid knowledge. So without having an object, without having a Pramanas, without having a Praman, you don't get a Pramanas. So in order to adopt your Pramana Shastra, that is the Anumana, perception, analogy, Anumana, your Shabda, your inferences, your inherence, all these methods, step by step, you need to adopt. Only then you will get a valid knowledge. So whatever subject you choose, data methodology you adopt, but the data what you collect, you have to check the authentication of data. Only then you get a better research result. When the research result is good, automatically your suggestions is feasible, your recommendation will be acceptable by the government, by the university, or it is your research result, suggestions, recommendation is always be useful for the society. If it is not useful just for the purpose of degree, please don't take up your research work. It is not just a PhD or the dissertation LLM. Any research work, writing a research article, empirical study work you undertake, please try to adopt each and every process, the process of your Pramana Shastra. Ultimately, your research result should be useful for the society. Okay. Okay, that is what all from my side. If you have any clarification you want or a doubt, the floor is open for the interaction or the clearance or the